Have live in the studio, Miss Yanni Brown. I am so excited. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How about yourself?
I am doing well. No complaints on this end.
That is good. It's been a while since we've chat.
Man, a long while.
Yes, I remember coming to many of your events. I used to really enjoy your events. You actually were somewhat of an inspiration for me to really go ahead and pursue my passions as well.
Well, do it, girl. I'm glad you're doing it.
Yes, yes. So, for my listeners who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Wow. Okay, so my name is Yanni Brown. I am a relationship and intimacy educator with the company that I created called Making Love Better Together. And the concept is simple. It's going to take all of us coming together collectively to what I call restore balance to love, because love is very out of sync. Roles are all over the place. And so that's my take on pulling it all together, is us actually doing the work together.
Yes, and love is definitely out of sync nowadays. Oh my goodness, it's crazy. So you have a lot going on. Can you take us a little bit into your world of how you are making love better together for people?
I educate women. So I do a series of workshops, blogs, guest appearances, panel discussions, and it's all designed to talk about women loving themselves, which is to me the pivotal point for embracing and cultivating healthy relationships, because when you love you, you make better choices in terms of how you receive love, how you give love, how you initiate love, how you engage in love. And when I talk about love, I'm talking about all aspects of love, whether it's loving a partner, loving your kids, interacting in the professional workplace, like how you feel about you, it literally cultivates everything else. So once I get women on that path of loving themselves, then I teach them how to really embrace receiving love, because a lot of us have been functioning in dysfunction when it comes to, someone trying to open the door for you. And we've been taught this level of independence of, I got it, where we don't know how to receive like simple gestures of love. So I teach them how to be open, how not to be so involved in your devices, work life, career, that you can't find the balance in allowing someone to show you what love looks like from their perspective. And then once they have a mate, then that's where the making love better together comes in. And I teach them the art of intimacy inside and outside of the bedroom.
All right. So you mentioned inside the bedroom as well. There was a quote on your website that had me tickled a little bit. It said, a lot of us are laying in wet spots that we didn't ultimately help to create.
Yes, yes, yes. And that is, and I've been speaking a lot on that, because, we're not, as women, we're not embracing our feminine energy when it comes to sex and making love and our ultimate pleasure of orgasms. So we'll lay in a wet spot that, he had an orgasm and she's just kind of sitting there like, okay, let me go in the bathroom and finish things. And that's not where we want to be in 2021, or going forward for that matter. It's like we need to understand that as women, our orgasms, whether they're mini or the big one, or whether we're, experiencing an ejaculation, whatever that orgasm is, we need to be experiencing those, because we should be. I mean, they're great for releasing endorphins. They're great for energy. They're great for, exercising those Kegel muscles. They are energy boosters to some degree. Who's not having a better day after having a great orgasm? So
Right.
they should be just as important to her. And I'm trying to empower women to speak not only to themselves, but speak to their partners about, what's going to create a better orgasm for her, because he's going to have his.
Right. More than likely, he's going to have his. I,
Yes.
I have a question for you just on that topic, because I hear people talk about the different, like an orgasm versus coming, and you just said ejaculating and the mini orgasm. What are all of the different, uh, I want to call them orgasms, but are there different orgasms? Is there, I don't know. Can you enlighten me on that?
Well, there's different types of orgasms, believe it or not. The mini orgasms are for my control freaks who likes to savor the moment for the big orgasm, where
Mhm.
you can have like those little mini, teeny tiny, oh, that felt really good, but you can keep going.
Yeah.
Oh, that felt really good, and you can keep going again and again. And unfortunately, sometimes women don't allow themselves to have that because they're looking for that big orgasm that they tend to have when they're on top. Uh, and that's when I tell women that they're control freaks because there's so many different types. And then, they think that they can only have it in a missionary position or during a long session when you could have them during quickies. Ejaculation is, of course, that when they said, oh, it feels like I'm peeing, that's not what that is. It's you having a projected orgasm where it's just everywhere and it's really wet and it tires her out immensely. It's equivalent to an ejaculation of a man.
So that's the squirter.
Yes, ma'am.
And can all women actually squirt?
No.
Okay.
No, it's led to believe that we can, but that's kind of like, how some women can take their tongue and move it from side to side. I can't explain what I'm saying, but there's some women that can take their tongue and flutter it real fast. Usually you can do one or the other. You can't do both. And there are some extraordinary people that can do both.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I've learned something already. I've learned that there are actually different types of orgasms. And
yeah, there's technically around 10 or 11 from what I've been reading up on. You have your clitoral orgasms, you got nipple orgasms. There's quite a few.
Wow. I think
Yeah.
I need to take a class. I also noticed that you have vibrating panties on your website. So
Yes,
how many
ma'am.
different products do you sell? I'm interested in those vibrating panties. I need to get me a partner, a mate first. But I'm definitely I've seen it only on the movies, on the TV and stuff. But it seems like that would be so much fun. But how many different products do you sell?
There's so many different adult novelty toy products on the market. What I love about what we do at Making Love Better Together is because there's so many, it could be overwhelming and it could be intimidating. And, a lot of people aren't willing to go into a toy store because it's like, ooh, what's happening here? And like I said, it's overwhelming. So what I do is I talk to the couple. I have actually a little mini workshop, if you will, where it's like a consulting session to help a couple pick out a toy for them based on, asking them questions about whether they're vaginally stimulated, clitorally stimulated, what's your sexual preferences, what you like, what you don't like. And then from there, we pick out a toy that a couple can enjoy and participate in together. And what I love about the vibrating panties is it's great for date night. And that's how that's how I sell it. It's great for other things, but I love it for date night. And it's wonderful in a group setting where, you and your friends, couple friends are out to dinner and he has the remote and you're mid-sentence in like a great conversation. And then he presses the button and now you got to keep your composure while you're having an orgasm. I think it's the most amazing fun time ever.
Yes.
Yes, I also, if your relationship is strong enough, I also recommend the vibrating panties, for a date night where you say, meet me at the bar, babe. Okay, cool. Put the panties on, go meet them at the bar, but it's a twist. So you're allowing your woman to flirt because sometimes it's ultra sexy to watch her flirt and do her thing. But when she's taking it just a little bit too far, you remind her what she has at home and you press the button. So like little things like that to me, while it's great to sell a toy, and I've been selling toys, a lot of people don't know this, but I've been selling toys for my daughter's 29. No, she's 30 now. So I've been selling toys for 30 years.
Okay.
And I never just wanted to be known as a toy person. You sit the toys out, you sell them. No, I wanted to learn about them, how couples can enhance the spontaneity and the spice in their relationship, how they can, cultivate their relationship. So it's always been about cultivating relationships for me. And so I don't just take a toy and it's like, here, buy this. No, I want you to understand what you're getting, the benefits of it, how it's going to enhance what you have. I talk about masturbating from across the room with each other and watching, because those things bring about certain levels of fantasy for him, fantasy for her, spontaneity and spice, and it increases the libido. It has so many different benefits that you don't hear in everyday conversation, and you don't hear from, your average toy person.
Right.
So when it comes to, I have quite a few toys. I'm adding more and more every day, but because there's so many toys on the site, it's easier if you don't see something on there that you are interested in to just hit me up like, hey, I saw so-and-so, do you carry that? Or can you get that?
Okay. All right. That is so good. As soon as I get somebody stable, I am going to get them panties because it just seems like so much fun. So
It is a lot of fun.
you sound like you're saying that from experience, Yanni.
No, not at all. Never.
All right. So what is the most common intimacy question that you get asked?
Oh, wow. Top two about a threesome I get asked a lot about, and can you watch?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty then. And so what goes on in the individual and couple session? Do you do like sex therapy, or is this like just a coaching? How?
It's a coaching session where I literally listen to what their situation is, or situations are, depending on what they have going on. And then I recommend a best practice for their situation. So that involves a homework assignment. It may involve them doing some deep work where they're like talking to each other face to face. It just depends on what the situation is. So there is no cookie cutter workshop that I have for each couple because they're so different depending on like I said, what the situation is. So we assess. The first initial session is an assessment, and we assess what's going on. And then from there, I break it down to, okay, you're going to need these many sessions, we're thinking, or these many sessions. And then we kind of go from there and break it down what their homework will be each week. We come back. How did that make you feel? What did you discover? Things like that. So it's more like I give them work to do, they do the work, and then I let them come to kind of like their own understanding of how can I make it better, or how can we make it better together?
Okay. I read another quote on your website. It says, we all don't know how to love or have become functional in the dysfunction of what love is and could be. What does that statement mean to you?
Think about, like, for example, people that are talking about taboo when it comes to the toys. And, I didn't learn that. And we didn't learn, church. And we grew up watching my mom beat on my dad, or my dad beat on my mom. Like, there's so many different ways that we've grown up. I grew up in a single parent household, so I didn't see love and affection. That's what I mean by the dysfunction part. We didn't see a lot of things growing up. And some of the stuff we did see was just wrong. And some of the things we were taught is just wrong. So we got to undo all of that to get to what works for us individually, because what worked for your mom may not work for you. What worked for you may not work for your kids. So we got to be open to having the real conversation about, for example, what pleasure is to her. Because your mom didn't talk to you about orgasms. I talk to my kids about orgasms.
Okay.
So that's what I mean by we become functional in the dysfunction of what we think love is, because we have different variations of what love is. For someone that comes from an abusive situation, that's what they think love is. For someone that comes from a promiscuous background, they associate sex with love.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so much more than that. So that's what I mean when I make that statement.
Okay. So we did kind of just hop right on into your business as soon as you got on here. So how did you get involved in all of this?
Wow. So I was in a relationship, and I had just had my daughter, and I needed a job. I was like, okay, I need some additional income. And I started selling sex toys, and I would do the parties, and I would notice women would talk about sex, but they weren't talking about the longevity of relationships. They weren't talking about healthy relationships. It was none of that. It was like sex sales. And I get that. But can you all talk about anything once the sex is over? Can you build a foundation in a healthy relationship once the great sex is over? Because at some point, the sex is going to leave. And then what do you have left? And so that was the issue that I ran into. And then I became passionate about intertwining like all these things that had to do with intimacy, connection, and building healthy relationships. So I went back to school and I got my degree, but I didn't get my degree as a psychologist or a therapist because my audience is African American. It's women, wives, and couples. And at that particular time, we weren't really okay with therapy, if you will. So I was like, okay, well, how can I get around this? So that's where intimate discussions came from, believe it or not, because you'll sit around and you'll talk about your issues candidly in front of a room full of people. But once you hear someone else say, I'm experiencing that too, now it becomes personal, like, oh, wow, so it's not just me. I can feel comfortable in this environment talking about it. So I found other ways to get to what the issues were. So I took a dance class, and one of my homework assignment was to connect how dance relate to relationships. So that's one of the assignments that I give my couples is go take a ballroom dance class, because you have to learn how to let your partner lead. And the only way I know to do that is to take a dance class. And I break down the analogy that if he's holding you up, because he has to be able to hold you up, then you are meeting her where she is in the dance, whatever dance it is. If she's a beginner and you're an expert, then you can't do expert moves with a beginner. See how that relates to sex and intimacy in a relationship?
Mm-hmm.
So if you know more things, you can't just rush her into blah, 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 blah. So I took a dance class. I took an art class. Like I took all classes that just helps us connect as people and humans first before we even get to the intimacy, before we even get to the sex. Communication classes. How can you talk? Can we talk about fantasy so that you're not having these awkward moments where it's like, okay, we had great sex, but we have nothing in common. Well, why not? So I talk about day dates. It's so many different things that I wanted to bring to the relationship aspect of it and not just let it be all about the sex.
Okay. That was good. So I want to touch on 6 brown chicks.
Okay.
So how did that whole thing come about? And I know I didn't watch the Ayanla show, but
Okay.
how did 6 brown chicks come about, and how did you wind up there?
We started out, it was like we all knew each other through a mutual friend, which was the founder of the 6 Brown Chicks, Sandra Hughes. And she brought us all together for our different talents that she saw in us and was like, what if we came together and wrote this blog and from different women's perspective? The concept was absolutely amazing. It was a great concept in theory, and it took off before we got a chance to get a handle on what it was, I believe. And so it took off and we didn't understand what our roles were, or before, I shouldn't say we didn't understand, before we could understand what our roles were within the group collectively. It took off faster and bigger than we anticipated. And we ended up on Ayanla's Fix My Life because we were doing things that weren't in alignment with the brand itself. And it got out of control, as women tend to do sometimes. And so we went on that show to see what the issues were and to fix some things. And, some things kind of unmasked themselves, revealed themselves. And I walked away, and I hope that they walked away as well, because I can only speak for me, walked away with a better understanding of relationships, which was weird because I'm a relationship educator and you would have thought I would have known, but it was like I was in a relationship with these 6 women or in a friendship with these 6 women. And we were really just business partners who kind of ended up becoming friends down the line.
Right.
So that's how we ended up on the show.
Okay. And do the 6 brown chicks still exist? Every once in a while I see something that says 6 brown chicks. Do you guys still do stuff together, or?
Well, I'm no longer a 6 brown chick, but the rest of the members are still active, I believe, because I'm not in their immediate circle, but I believe they have other people that are writing for them as well. They kind of opened it up to, even though it's called the 6 Brown Chicks, it's a whole lot of women that are coming together, I guess, to do 6 Brown Chick work. I don't know how active they are, but I do see their stuff as well.
Okay. Yeah. I was a little confused as I was reading different stuff. I'm like, so I do see that every once in a while, not as often as I used to, of course. So I was just wondering if, you guys were still doing your thing. So I want to get to a little bit of the dating conversation. What do you see as the red flags of dating?
Not being able to have a conversation, like a real conversation, because a lot of us realistically, we're having superficial conversations. Well, you can't ask this and you can't ask that. A conversation is a free-flowing conversation of dating, and dating is the gathering of data. That's where dating came from.
Okay.
It's the gathering of data. So when you're on a date, you're gathering intel to see if you want to go on another date. And then you're gathering more intel, you know what I mean? So it's getting to know someone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of us aren't really wanting to get to know. We want to go to the straight to the sex. We don't want to get to know someone. So those are red flags to me. And I know for a fact that a red flag in the beginning is a red flag in the middle, and it's also a red flag in the end.
Hmm.
So as people dating, we have to ask ourselves, what are our red flags that are non-negotiable?
Mm-hmm.
And then move forward knowing that. So if you, for example, you go on a date with someone and they light up a cigarette and you're like, I said I didn't want to date anybody that smokes. So there's no reason why you should go on date number 2.
Exactly. And that's exactly how I date. If there are red flags that are my deal breakers, then that's just it. If he's got a kid that's 7, there's not going to be another date. The rest of it doesn't matter, because I don't want to do that. I did that already. And
not to mention, it's something you said you didn't want for yourself.
right.
A lot of times we negotiate and compromise things that we want for ourselves, and then we end up trying to blame the other person when in fact we compromised, we settled, we said, oh, well, I'm gonna go on date number 2, and now you're in love and the sex is amazing, but those red flags are still there.
Yes. So let me expound on that just a little bit more. Let's bring it up to today's women. And of course, these are, I'm not going to say that, but I've been reading a lot, and I'm sure you have too if you're on Facebook. So now there's these standards, okay, where they want the men to get their hair and nails and toes done and go to, the most expensive steakhouse on the first date. So what do you think about that with regard to, dating and the red flags or whatever?
Okay, so my take is probably going to shock you.
Okay.
I think if that's the agreement and understanding that dating situation has, then that's the understanding that has. But also, what are you going to do for all these dates and nails and blah, 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 blah? That's you having a conversation. People go into marriages with this understanding, like, okay, well, I'm going to cook this amount of times a week, or we're going to have sex these many times a week, and that's their agreement. So what are you entering into in terms of the agreement that you have with this person? Now, if it's something that works for whomever, then it works for them. But is it something that you should go into expecting something tangible, real longevity and long lasting? Probably not, because it's superficial. Because what happens when you can't get your nails done anymore? God forbid something happens where you're in a position where, your hair falls out and you can't get your hair done anymore. Do you understand what I mean? Mm-hmm. So now we've changed what's going on in the interim. So now what are you going to do with those changes? Like, okay, so if you were having sex 5 days a week with the thought that, okay, well, I'm getting my hair and nails done, that's the exchange. If that's what you all have agreed to, then now you can't hold up your end of the bargain.
So when I look at it, and it is fresh because just this morning I read something like that. And here's the thing, just because a guy may be able to afford to get your hair and nails and toes done and take you on expensive, restaurant outings or whatever, does that qualify him as a good man to be in a relationship with? I think the whole
point. Well, no, because, and I'll tell you something, what I know about our independence or, being taken care of and things like that, it comes with a certain level of other things, like a woman, you hear women say this, well, I want a man with 6 figures and he got to go to the gym and blah, 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 blah. So they create these standards and it's like, okay, but you do know that that man is not going to have a whole lot of time to spend with you because he's out making 6 figures.
Right.
You can't sit down and, we can't lay around and do, sleep in if he making 6 figures. So what I'm saying is there are things that come with what your ask is.
Exactly.
So if you want me to jump, meaning get my nails done, get my hair done, when I say so, then what are you willing to do for that jump?
Exactly. And I think that a lot of women who are making these, I have a guy friend and he was going to take a young lady on a first date. This is a first date.
Nice.
And she sent him her Cash App and told him to send her the money to get her hair, nails, and feet done. And I'm for a first date, first date.
See, now to me, that says something else.
What does that say?
But who am I to say that that's something else? Because there's people out here doing it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because who says she doesn't already have her hair, nails, and feet done from the last guy?
Exactly.
So you're sending a payment. That's like an escort, right?
Absolutely. And I shouldn't say it's like an escort. It has the potential to become that. And again, if that works for your situation, then let it work for your situation. Because there are some men that want to be seen with women that look a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's something you and that person is okay with, cool. Do it big. I'm here for it.
Right. You don't just stop at hair, nails, and feet, then get the outfit and everything. Get you some red bottoms, throw all of that in there.
And as long as it works for y'all.
Right. As long as it works for them. But see, then to me, that's not necessarily dating. That's a business exchange at that point, because dating, like you said, is about collecting data and it's about getting to know that person that you potentially want to be with long term. And
well,
okay,
let's flip it a little bit.
Okay.
How many movies have you seen where it starts out that way and it turns into a long-term dating situation? There are men that because don't get it twisted. Just because they like what they like doesn't mean that they don't want companionship. Doesn't mean that they don't want intimacy. Doesn't mean that they don't want somebody to go to the movies with. Doesn't mean that they don't want to share time spent with somebody. What they don't want is all the headache that comes along with it, the emotional attachment that may come along with it. So they're paying initially for a service, but it's a service that's committed to them when they want it. And there are some women out there like that too. But like I said, as long as it works for them, it works.
That's interesting. They're paying for a service, and as long as it works for them, so that kind of is like the Pretty Woman movie.
Yeah. And like I watched another movie where this guy was like rich as I don't know what, and he paid for it was like he was a transgender person.
Okay.
And he still had his parts. And this man spoiled this woman like there was no tomorrow. Paid for everything, paid for an apartment, put her up. He had his life. But when he wanted her there, she was there.
Okay.
And then the moment she changed the game, meaning she had her surgery and got a vagina installed, he flipped the switch like that because he wanted what he wanted.
Okay.
And they had an understanding that this is what this is. This is what I expect. This is what I want. This is what I need. That other person on the receiving end was like, cool, I can provide this for you because I like it too. And they loved each other. But they had an understanding. So I guess as long as you have an understanding of what you're doing and the cards that you're putting on the table and you're honest about it, if they don't have a problem with it, why should we?
Okay, so what you're kind of saying is, these women are looking for that type of situation where that is that type of guy that's going to do those things and not have a problem with it versus the every day she may not be looking for that relationship where it's a personal, well, it is still a personal connection, but what they both want is different than what maybe the average person might want, or
Absolutely.
okay.
Yes.
I
Yes.
got you. That's a whole different understanding of it. I get you on that.
Because you know how we think, okay, well, there are some women out there that can do one night stands. There are some women out there that can. Why are we mad at them? Because they can.
I ain't
Do you
mad.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, if it works for them, let it work, honey. Let it work. Because it's not just working for him, it's working for her. And it's not just working for her, it's working for him. So if they cool with it, I'm cool with it.
Okay. All right. You know what? This is why I love discussions. And a lot of people like to have discussions with people who have the same viewpoint as them. So everybody's on the same bandwagon, but you don't learn anything from that. You just gave me a whole different viewpoint on that situation, because I was laying in this one. I'm like, this is crazy. Why are you requiring that a man do all of this stuff? Dating is about getting to know that person. Well, not necessarily for everybody.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing. The people that aren't interested in that, they're not in her DMs.
Right.
But the people
They
that
don't
are
stay in her
interested in
DMs.
paying for those things, they'll be in her DM. It's and you know what's so funny? I had somebody to teach me that. It's like, if you want, say for instance, you want a relationship, and you know you want a relationship, then don't entertain the fuck boy or the fuck woman. Do you understand what I mean?
Yep.
So we all have these things that we're attracted to. And I think this generation, and at this time, and I don't want to say this generation, I mean this time, we're able to explore that without feeling guilty.
Okay. All right. Well, you just schooled me this morning. This is a great thing. So let me ask you, what do men really want? So I know you've done this for a while and you've talked to a lot of people. What do men really want when it comes to relationships and maybe even sex?
When it comes to relationships, men really want to be understood and heard. They want to be able to have a safe space to be vulnerable, whatever that vulnerability looks like to them as men. And it's not our place to judge them. It's not our place to say, well, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't feel this way. I heard a couple people talking about, men crying and things like that. Why shouldn't they have a safe space to be able to do that with you? If that's your partner and that's the person you're going to wake up with, that's the person you're going to grow with, that's the person you're going to build with, why shouldn't they be able to be vulnerable? And then on the flip side to that, a woman should also be able to be vulnerable, because that's the space where you can do that at with your partner. So, and when it comes to sex, that varies because men have different needs based on their sexual experiences. I say all the time that you are only as good as your last lay. And your last lay determines what your next lay is going to look like. So if you've went into a situation with someone and you're doing the same position, the same routine, and that woman says that, hey, honey, that's not working for me. I need to open your eyes to some things. I need to do X, Y, and Z because I like X, Y, and Z. Then they're going to go from relationship to relationship to relationship, doing what works for them and not really exploring what works for them.
Okay. Oh, this is great stuff. So what has been your proudest moment?
My proudest moment, I've had several. I set up these romantic rendezvous from time to time. I used to do it all the time. It used to be part of the business, but now I get more fulfillment out of giving them the package and the idea and letting them do it. But I had a woman who literally called me up and was like, hey, I want you to set up a romantic rendezvous, blah, blah, blah. She sent me the check. That's when checks were still being mailed before the Cash App. And I set up the romantic rendezvous, and he literally, the guy, because usually one person knows and one person doesn't.
Okay.
And he was like, she don't know us. This woman don't know anything about us and blah, 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 blah. And like, he didn't want to go through with it. But the next day I got a phone call from him. This was absolutely amazing. The poem you wrote for me, it was like you knew us. The beer mug that was frosted was like added touches because I asked questions and I want to make it specific to that couple. He was like, it was just absolutely amazing. I walked in the room and I was like, how could she know?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that was one of my proudest moments. And then I'm teaching curriculum now with a couple of marriage companies. You know how they have like the wives club, the marriage club. So I'm teaching a couple of workshops with them. So right now, that's probably the proudest two things that I got going for me. I've written a couple articles in some various magazines. So I guess I haven't had my proudest moment yet.
Okay. Well, congratulations on those things. It's funny you mentioned the dates. I didn't know you did that, but I was actually considering doing that for like Valentine's Day and like Sweetest Day, stuff like that. Actually doing dates as well and draw on my event planning experience. I need to put
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is so intimate right now, especially post-pandemic, still slightly in, slightly out.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's a nice little ticket. Like I had one couple, they weren't romantic at all. It was hilarious. It was the most hilarious thing ever. But the date I set up for them, I rented out a basketball court.
Oh,
And because they were competitive.
okay.
And they had a one-on-one basketball game. It was
Goodness.
hilarious. And then they had dinner afterwards, in the same space. But yeah.
Okay. That was really cool. I like how you tailored it to them. I wasn't really going to tailor it to them, but some guys don't really plan. So I was really going to get on that side of things for people who really don't like to plan stuff, more
Absolutely.
just creating what they want. So now what was your toughest moment?
My toughest moment was I have this signature workshop called the Touch of Love workshop, which is what the second book is about. And it's called Making Love Better Together, the Art of Intimacy. So I took a workshop that I had become very well known for, and I wrote a book about it. And one particular event, I was being contracted by some wives organization. And they said to me, well, she's single. How is it that she can tell me anything about marriage and blah, 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 blah. And they booked me anyway, knowing that these one or two wives were like, who is she? And how is she going to come in and tell me about my business? And it was difficult because I knew that going in, but I wowed them anyway. But what that taught me was everybody's not my audience.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to be okay with that. But it ended up turning out really, really well. It was a very successful event. I never approached those women, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking, if I just got a chance to talk to you, I can tell you everything that's wrong with your marriage.
Right.
Just from having a conversation with you. But I didn't do that because I realized there are a lot of marriages, which is why I love what I do. But there are a lot of marriages that are sexless. There are a lot of marriages that were built off of the wedding and not the marriage itself.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're miserable. And then there are a lot of women who got married, unfortunately, based on the facade of who they thought she was. So now they're figuring out or wanting to discover themselves, and they can't or won't because of fear or whatever. So when I think about like the grand scheme of why I do what I do, a lot of it has to do with that.
That's so good, because sometimes you meet people who are going through relationship issues, and after a conversation, exactly why they're having relationship issues. They can't see it. Sometimes that mirror, people can't see themselves in it. But you can see them from the outside, like, okay, well, you're pretty combative in general. So
Man.
I can tell why you may not have a relationship.
Or why you may be struggling.
Yes, absolutely. So, I am known for my relationship discussion. So I have to ask you, are you single?
I am single.
Okay. And so why do you think you're single?
So funny question is I get two sides of the gambit when it comes to me being single. So there's one side that wants to discover the freak in me. It's like, ooh, she does this. I want to experience that.
Okay.
And then there's the side of they want to date the persona.
Yeah.
Yanni Brown is the persona. Yolanda Brown likes to cuddle on the couch and watch movies and cook and I definitely need someone to balance out my high level of energy because I'm high level all the time. I'm
Yeah.
high energy all the time, but I realize my go-to person is going to balance that out.
Yeah.
And I've discovered not very many people want to do the balancing. Now, the last relationship I had was absolutely amazing. It's just we lived in two different spaces,
Okay.
two different cities.
Oh, it's a long distance relationship.
Yes.
Mm, I did that once. I just swore I'd never do that again. And I totally feel you on the persona because I get a lot of people that are interested in the Xavier Fox that they, see on the shows or see
Mhm.
wherever, whatever, and they have their idea of who I am. But so I'm a cusp baby, so I'm a Leo Virgo. And so the Xavier they see is that Leo chick. She's out there, she's assertive. And then there's the Virgo side of me that is kind of, sometimes I just like to be by myself. I just want to cuddle up, just like you said, but they're expecting that other. So I totally get that persona thing. And that will keep you single because that's you don't want to be on all the time. And I'm hyper like you as well. So I totally feel you on that. And especially in this age group, not a whole lot of men really want to be quite as active as you might want to be.
And I'm also going to add a lot of people don't want to put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the reality of it. It's like the unfortunate thing is some of us, men and women, have made it very easy to get what they want, whatever it is that they want, because I don't know what the what is, but I don't have to work for it. So I don't have to take you on a date.
Right.
We can go through the drive-through. We can Netflix and chill. And getting to know you is not really what they want to do. They want to text you to death and what you doing to death, but not really get to know you as a person. And that's men and women. So that kind of leaves it hard to date. And then, of course, online dating, you meet this person's persona. Now, before online dating was a thing, you could kind of sway that that persona or that I call it the representative for like months. And then the real you eventually comes out. With online dating, you can drag that thing on and on and on and be whoever you want to be behind that computer.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just not as easy as people think. For some it is, but for some it's not.
So do you enjoy being single?
I do not. I was not meant to be alone. I think God is playing a very cruel trick on me for me to have this business, this brand of always cultivating healthy relationships. And here I am very much single. I'm like, yep, joke's on you. But I kid you not, every day he wakes me up with something to share with the world about some form of whether it's a woman loving herself, uh, or empowering a woman or encouraging or inspiring a woman to, yes, y'all should be having sex every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I wake up with it and I can't get rid of it even if I wanted to. And I want to quit every day. Like forget y'all and y'all relationships. I want one of my own. But I wake up every day with something.
Okay. If you could go back and give your younger self a piece of life advice, what would it be?
Make sure your credit is on point.
Oh yeah, ain't that a good one?
Make sure your credit is on point.
That opens up a whole lot of doors. Yeah.
And my second one would be something my mother told me, which I did not heed until later, like in my latter years of living. She said, save some for yourself because you're going to need it. And I didn't know what that was until I bottomed out and was completely empty. And I did not save any for me. And I was expecting people that I had loved on, saved on, helped out, bent over backwards for, moved mountains and molehills for, to come in and replenish me. And they did it.
Yep. I know that feeling too. Yep. Save some for yourself because you're gonna need that's yep. And you don't know what that sum is.
No, you don't.
Yep. Until you go through those experiences.
Man, like, until you need it, like, oh, that's what she meant. Got it.
Okay. I feel you on that one. Who are your top 3 comedians and why?
Oh, wow. Okay, so there's top 3 comedians.
Mm-hmm.
I love Dave Chappelle's storytelling.
Okay.
It's raw, it's gritty, and it's honest. Let's see. I haven't seen him in a while, but I like Damon Wayans' comedy.
Okay.
He's funny to me. And who else is funny? I still like Martin Lawrence. I still like Martin Lawrence. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Kev on Stage is pretty funny too. Like he's doing really well.
What's
Kev on
his
Stage is dope.
Kev on Stage?
Yes.
Oh, I never heard of him before. I might have to check him out. What's your
He
favorite? Go ahead.
he and his wife are doing some remarkable things too. So yeah, you should definitely check him out.
Okay. What's your favorite vacation spot and why?
To be determined.
Oh. So thus far, which one have you enjoyed?
Again, I like to relax. I'm a Pisces, so I need to be anywhere near an ocean or huge body of water. So I'm gonna say anything in the Caribbean, I'm good with.
Okay. And my final question for you, what is success to you?
Success to me is being able to sleep at night knowing that I have given my absolute best to the people that I strive to give my best to.
All right. Well, this has been a great interview. Do you have any final words for my listeners before we wrap it up?
Just do the things that make you happy and find your joy.
And so give them your website, how they can get in touch with you on social media if they want to, all of that kind of good stuff.
The website is yannibrown.com. Across all social media platforms, I am Making Love Better, and that's BETTR. And yeah, grow something.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview, Yanni. This has been great. And are you still in Chicago?
I am not, believe it or not. I am in North Carolina.
Okay. Okay.
My goal was to get to Atlanta, but if I get there, fine. If I don't, I'm okay now with that too.
Okay. I was thinking I would have you maybe speak at an event I have coming up, and that would be great. I still might have to just fly you in or something. I don't
Come
know.
on, fly me in. I can, in any excuse to get to Chicago, I'm willing to come on back because the food, I will say this, there's no food like Chicago food.
Oh my goodness. And there's no summer like Chicago summers either.
This is true.
Yes.
This is true.
Chicago in the summer is like the greatest. So, okay. Well, thank you so much for taking your time and coming on here and talking to me. And we will be talking again soon. It won't be as long again.
Yes, sounds great.
All right. Thank you.